Welcome everybody. We'll get started. This is the third webinar of our autumn series, CYMI, and with the help of the John Paul II Award last week and this week. This week we're going to delve into the practicalities of Instagram, and Tony and Lizzy are going to lead us through that bit by bit. There will be a chance for questions right through this, so please, and Tony will talk to us in a second, but we will be using the chat function to post your questions, and we'll take them up from there. Great to see you back again this week. Hope all is well wherever you are and your ministry is going as best as can be expected, and hopefully there's something in this for you today. So a chance to share ideas around Instagram and to delve a little deeper into it. So hand it over to Tony and Lizzy, and we'll get a chance to chat through the next hour. Okay, Tony.
Thanks very much, Frank. You're all very welcome. It's great to see a lot of familiar faces, and I see others too from around the country. You're all very, very welcome here today. My name is Tony Brennan. I'm the National Coordinator of the Pope John Paul II Award in Ireland and Britain. And we are, since lockdown, have really been engaging a lot online. And Instagram is one of the tools that the youth ministry here in Derry has been using as the connector to get in touch with our young people through both lockdown and the current restrictions as well. I'm just going to introduce you to Lizzy. Lizzy, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hello everyone, I'm Lizzy. I'm Youth Coordinator of Derry Diocese, and happy to be here talking about Instagram today. I hope you're all able to understand me, and if I'm speaking too fast, please write it in the chat in case I talk too fast. Just a bit nervous, so hopefully I'll be able to teach you something on Instagram.
We'll just quickly run through. We will touch on the basics of Instagram, and we'll give you an opportunity, if you have any questions, to use the chat function. And towards the end, then we'll have a chance for any Q&A. I'm just going to show you the functions of Instagram. Down the bottom left, you will have the mute and the video, which you're probably all muted at the moment. But the chat function there, as we make our way through the tutorial this morning, if you've any questions, just fire in a quick question in there and see if we can pick them up. Frank and James and Anne-Marie will be watching, and if you have any questions, they can feed it through to myself and Lizzy. For the moment, if you want to get used to the chat function, why don't you just put in your name and just tell us where you're from. Now, just before we start, we'll just have a short prayer. A reflection by St. Pope John Paul II. Remember that you are never alone. Christ is with you on your journey every day of your lives. He has called you and chosen you to live in the freedom of the children of God. Turn to him in prayer and in love. Ask him to grant you the courage and the strength to live in this freedom always. Walk with him who is the way, the truth, and the life. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. As I said before, we use Instagram as the connector. That's the connector, how we use it to promote and to connect with our young people online. And we have various ways of moving that on using Zoom as well. But for today, we're just going to go through how we use Instagram itself. Lizzy, you've been using Instagram really since March. Could you give us an idea, just as we start, before we start going through the basic functions of Instagram, how you're using it in a practical level?
Using it in a practical level, I think the simplest answer is young people are on Instagram. They're not on Facebook or the age group that I'm looking to target through this youth ministry and the award, and not just the award, through secondary level up. They're on Instagram. We found this out through our various diocesan activities I've only been in the job the last year, but in that year I found out that young people are on Instagram, and if you want a quick response from the young person, Instagram is where they're at. So that's why that kind of made the decision for us, and in a practical way, that was the easiest decision to make.
And you're able to, then you have, various activities that you meet in the evening time through the week and through Zoom. So that's how you promote yourself, isn't that right?
It is how you promote yourself, but we promote ourselves, and we do send all the information on to schools and to parishes, but Instagram is where they're looking. If you ask them to follow you, they find that all information. They look at their Instagram accounts various times throughout the day, so that's where they see the promotion. We would do lives, which we'll talk about a wee bit later, and tasks throughout the week on Instagram, and it's a daily content that they get each day from us on our Instagram, whether that be on our feed or our story, which again we'll describe later on.
Okay, so we're just going to start off now with some of the basics of Instagram. We're assuming that everybody has a Instagram account. If you don't have an account, or if you need any additional help, you Google help at instagram.com. You get all the tutorials of Instagram and how to use the different functions, from registering your account right through what is on the screen. Now, in the last week, it was around Thursday, if anyone's not totally familiar with Instagram, there was a major update. Things got moved around. So you would have seen the main function that you sort of use for Instagram is the post function. That's the square with the cross in the middle of it. That was down in the bottom center of your screen, and now it has been shifted up to the top sort of right area. And similarly with the like function, that again has been moved up to the top. So you can see the screenshot on the right of this illustrates where the new positions are. The main function to start with is posting an image. And I'm just going to ask Lizzy if you could come in here and just start at that point, just using the post an image function.
Yeah, so when posting an image on your feed, you would go to the plus button, and that will take you to your camera, or you can take the picture there if you would like to put that image on your feed, or you can go to the bottom left corner, which will then take you to your phone's photo gallery. And then you select the image. Once you've selected the image, you then would write a description and post. Same kind of thing you would do on Facebook, create a post and share it.
Okay. Can I just ask a question? Just at that basic function, that sometimes trips people up. You can take a live photograph with your camera, just as we are now, or you can search in your media on your phone.
Yeah.
Now we'll just introduce one thing we just should have said earlier on. Instagram works only on mobile phones. It's built specifically for your mobile phone. Won't work on tablet correctly or on your PCs. So it really is a tool for your mobile phone. Two of the questions we get asked most often is, how can I get an image from my PC onto my mobile phone so that I can share it on Instagram? Lizzy, do you want to give that little few tips on that function?
Yeah, so what I would do if it was on my PC, so a lot of the content I would make for our online program, I would make on an app called Canva, but you can make it on any app on the computer, and I would download it to my computer. I would email it to myself, and I would then open it on my phone, onto my emails, open it on my phone and save the image to my phone. So download and save. So make sure that I just have it in my emails and I'm then able to access it on my phone. And that's how I would save it to my gallery.
Now, there are other ways of getting the image onto your phone, but the email is the most easiest to understand. Some other mobile phones, depending on what phone you have other ways of doing it. But and we'd encourage you to explore those ways of doing it using Bluetooth or file sharing. But the simplest one is by email. That'd be the easiest one.
Just a question in there, guys. Yeah. Is there any particular spec of a phone that you need, or will any type of phone work with Instagram?
Most smartphones are the easiest to work with, but any phone would work.
Okay, and the name of that application that you use to create stuff on your laptop? It's
called Canva, and it is a free app. You can look at it. I've paid a subscription for it, sorry, but you have the ability to go on free first and try it out to see if it would work for you.
If any of our audience use an iPhone or an Apple Mac, what I would recommend is iMovie. It has lots of functions on it as well. So those are the two that we would recommend that you use. The second main function of Instagram is video. Now, video is most popular. It is the easiest to use and the easiest to get a lot of reactions from. What we would do if you're planning to do videos is plan carefully. And I'm just going to give you just a tip or two of how to prepare to use your phone for using with a video. So say you're doing a piece to camera and you're going to talk to your phone and publish it on Instagram. Position your camera in place, put it on a tripod or on a firm position, and switch it on. And this is the trick. Switch on, then pause for 3 seconds, facing the camera, then speak. And when you've finished speaking, pause again for 3 seconds, and then move to switch the camera off. And the reason I'm saying that is because what you want to do is avoid publishing that film with you switching on your camera and switching it off at the end. So if you pause at the beginning and pause at the end, you can edit that clip and it'll chop off the bits at the front and chop off the bits at the end. And so you have a perfect piece to camera. To publish video, Lizzy, can you give us some tips that you use yourself and some of the things to watch out for?
Instagram will not let you post on your grid a video longer than 1 minute. So if a video is longer than 1 minute, it will give you two options. It will give you they'll cut your video and only show the first minute. That's one option, and it will call it a short video. And then underneath it will say it's an IGTV video, which is Instagram TV. So if you want to publish the full video, you can make a series on Instagram. It's called IGTV. You can add your series to that, or you can show a one-off video. If your video is longer than 1 minute, it will go, you have to select IGTV, and then it will show up on your post and on your grid. So 1 minute is that's what you have to think about. And that will also happen when you go to share a video on your story, but I'll talk to you about stories in a second.
Yeah. So that would be the second main use of Instagram for video. Video is very effective and it takes a lot of practice. At the start in March, myself and Lizzy spent a lot of toing and froing back and forth, getting used to both the function of video and presenting and getting it going. And that took us many weeks, Lizzy, didn't it, over and back?
It took a lot of time, and I had to watch a lot of tutorials. I'm coming today, I don't have a degree in media. I just had to spend a lot of time thinking about Instagram, and I obviously had a slight knowledge of it because I use it myself, not obviously in youth ministry, but I do use it and I think it's a great app. But it did take time to learn how to use the functions properly. And video, if you're posting on Facebook, you're so used to the video just being allowed no matter what size it is on your page. It's very different on Instagram, and you really need to think do I want this video longer than a minute? Does it need to be longer than a minute? And can I get my message out there in that short video, or does it need to be an IGTV series?
That just moves along smoothly to just explain that if you need any assistance or help with using Instagram, use Google. Google is the best way to get tutorials and examples of videos. And I can give you just two good examples here of ones to follow. If you just, in Google, if you just search Instagram tutorials, you'll see that this guy here comes usually up at the top of all the search. And he is he's excellent to follow, excellent to use. I'd encourage you that you start there. His name is Jerry Potter. He's American, but his tutorials are nice, short pieces, and they're very easy to follow. So if you're ever stuck, search in Google, and you will nearly always find the answer there. If you have any questions before we continue moving on, we're going to start to get a little bit more complicated now. You will see one of the functions in when you're posting in Instagram is that you can share simultaneously the post that you're publishing with Facebook and Twitter. There's a few things I need to point out with you on that one. One, do not share to Twitter. That is a no-no. The reason for that is because all it does is it just shares the link of the post that you created. It doesn't publish an image or anything like that. So effectively, it's absolutely no good to you on Twitter. The function to share to Facebook is excellent. It works really, really well. But what I would say to everybody is if your comfort zone is Instagram, don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about the other social media platforms. If Instagram is your thing and Instagram is what you're comfortable with, just concentrate on that. There's too much to take into account with the other social media platforms. We in the diocese here, we share to Facebook. We also use Instagram. But if we're using Twitter, I use it completely on its own. And that's because the audience are a completely different type of audience on Twitter. Now, the audience on Instagram and Facebook, this is something worth noting. Statistically, easy for me to say, the audience on Facebook is generally female. It is also generally 25-year plus. The audience on Instagram is generally much, much younger. It's teenagers and young adults. And that's where the main field in youth ministry is. Lizzy, would you agree with that analogy?
Yes, I totally agree. Most young people that I was talking to were on Instagram, and my group, I'll say that I'm quite young still.
Yeah. So bear in mind that that is your audience. Your audience are in youth ministry are teenagers and youth ministry. So that's where we come into the area of being careful and safeguarding. Now we touched on safeguarding last week on our previous webinar. It is a subject that you could take up a whole session with. So just to be aware of safeguarding, but also you have the older age group as well. And Instagram is where those people are at. So that's where you want to focus your attention on in youth ministry and use it as a connector.
A question there from Rose, just in relation to how does the cross sharing from Facebook work when you have a longer video in Facebook? Yeah. Rose, do you want to come in yourself?
It's really when you're working in Facebook and you can automatically share over to Instagram, which I haven't been doing, but I'm just interested from what you were saying, Lizzy, that if you have a limit of a 1 minute video, then if you have like a 2 minute or 3 minute video on Facebook, what would it do to it?
It would just shorten it down. It would only let it play the first minute. What I would do and what I have to do is any video that I'm sharing no longer than a minute, it's 2 separate posts. So a separate post on Instagram, a separate post on Facebook, because if you put it in the post sharing, it won't work.
So through just images, and that will be what would work best. Okay, thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Rose, for the question. Thanks, Lizzy. Robert, you had a question there. Can you name what Instagram is being used for?
Yeah, Lizzy, just other than publicity, like, can you use, is there private rooms on Instagram, like private sections in terms of like these calls? Can you work with people through Instagram privately?
There's not a call function, Robert, but there is a thing called, there's DM, which is direct message, so you can have a group of young people on one message format, or you can also have them, we'll talk about stories, and on the stories you can select a certain number of a group, so they're called close friends, it says, is what it says on Instagram. And for example, we have a Derry Youth Scholarship, and there's 11 young people signed up, and if I want a message just to get to them, I can put a story up and it'll only go to that group of young people. Or say you had a youth group and you wanted to show them some of the work, it would only be that 11 young people that see that story. So there's a story function that you can do, certainly, that's just for certain groups, and you can do direct messaging, which is groups of young people, but there isn't like a group call like Zoom. And you can also use it, what I'm using it for mainly is the awards, and to give out tasks to young people to receive to do the awards, and then they message me. But you're making that direct contact with them, so they're messaging, and if they have a question, it's where they go, because they don't go on your website, they don't ask, they go to Instagram and they would message me directly. And safeguarding wise, I've already kind of spoke about it. There's about 6 people logged on, 6 volunteers or leaders logged on to my Instagram, so that they will get a notification every time somebody sends a message, so that we're covered safeguarding wise, so it's not just me.
Now that leads us on to stories. Lizzy, would you mind explaining what stories are on Instagram?
Yes, so there's stories on Facebook, but stories on Facebook only kind of come in because Instagram has stories. Instagram stories is what I would say is the fun part of Instagram. The feed, I like the feed, it's great about getting things out there, but young people are watching your stories. That's where you see how many young people have watched what you've put up. You're able to view all the insights, and they're able to react to stories. So there's different stories, can be quite fun. As I say, you can add music, you can add location, you can add questions, you can add quizzes, you can add lots to your stories to make it very useful and very fun. For example, one of the weeks we did an online programme, we did a scavenger hunt, and there's lots of different functions. We were able to have like a selfie mode camera and take videos when we were out scavenger hunting, and the young people were able to join in. It's a very immediate function. So when putting pictures up on your story, that's how you do a live video. That's how you do your stories, like pictures and information gets out there. For an example, I'll go, say you're to put an image on your story. You would, on Instagram, I don't know if Tony's bringing up that slide, but there's on the top line, there's lots of different circles, and each circle is a different page that you follow. So you see, that's how influencers obviously get their message out there. They put things on their stories, and you click your icon, you hit it, and it will bring you up to different options. And the options will be, it will again bring you to your camera. That's the function that goes to straight away. So you could then take a picture of wherever you're at, and that will then be put onto your story. Or you can go down again to the left-hand corner, and it will take you to your phone gallery. When selecting an image from your gallery, you then can adjust it. As I say, you can add lots of different functions, music, other images, you can add polls, and again, this is trial and error. You go into the search bar and you search what you want to add, and sometimes it will work, sometimes it won't work. So there's lots of different times that you can learn about that and spend a lot of time on your stories. and then you'll click down the bottom, it will say share to, or it'll say done, and then share to, and you share it to your story. And then people then can view your story, and they can message you, they can swipe up and say, reacted, oh, I love that picture, that's great, or no, I don't like this, or anything like that. They can react to your story. That's mainly that. I don't know if we're going to go through any more on stories, are we?
Stories are quite popular. They're easy to follow, but you'll see these icons. There's 4 icons there at the top. So they're at the top of your Instagram feed, and each of those stories are up there, and they constantly evolve. At the moment, Lizzy, you have you've a story up there for Derry Youth. That's for this evening. Do you want to just explain probably how you created that story just one more time?
Yeah. So as you know, the plus button is, you see in this slide where the John Paul icon is. So you hit the plus button there, yeah. That plus button will only be there if you don't have a story up. You can add multiple stories, but the plus button will only be there the first time that you put a story up. But that doesn't matter because it's the same process the whole way through, even if you have more than one story up. So you would hit the icon, so you would hit the circle. You would then hit the icon again and up the top, and that will bring you to your camera. So you will see that when you hit your camera, I don't know if you can see it kind of on my phone, so that's where it's taking me to my camera, and there's different slides down the bottom there. So it will say post, story, reels, live. So we're not going to go into reels. Your story is you can just take a picture and add it, and then it has the live function as well. So the story, you can then, as I say, there's boomerangs, collages, there's the whole shebang thing on this, but I'm not going to go through all that. It will take you to the bottom left-hand corner is where you can go to your photo gallery. You select an image, and once you've selected the image, you then press send to down the bottom right-hand corner. It will say send to, and you click your story, which again is your icon, but it will say outside your story, and then that's how you share it to your story.
So, Tony, if I just jump in there for a second,
Yep.
it's what's important about this is that to know that stories exist as a function
Right.
on Instagram, and obviously as to how to do step by step. If you were to obviously search in YouTube or Google for how to create stories on Instagram, you'll get a step by step video somewhere that will tutorial that bring you through that. There are a number of questions coming in. Sure. Rebecca Coyne had a question around, how you might set up a specific group and a story like you mentioned.
I was really interested to hear that you could set up a story to only reach a certain group. I wasn't aware of that function, and I was just wondering, when you go in to say you post a story there, I've got Instagram beside me here, and I was just following what you were saying. So when you'd finish your story, but how do you set up the story, the group rather, I suppose, is the real question for me.
Yeah, it's close friends, it's called on Instagram, and you can add the group by going into your settings, and it will bring up a group called close friends. You then add whoever followed you into that close friends, and then that group set up just for them.
Okay, so a bit like setting up an email address group. You kind of pulling people you want to have in that group. Okay.
Yeah, it'll just bring up their Instagram handle, and you just click who you want to be in that group, and then it's not even an accept or decline. They're in the group. They can leave the group if they don't want to be in the group, but that would be how you do it.
Thanks, Lizzy. Another question, Aoife, do you want to just have a chat there about your question there directly with the guys?
Thanks, Frank. Yeah, no, I'm just wondering if you can overpost in Instagram, because I suppose I see it with some certain things where you can put a post up every day, but I'd never put more than one post up a day. I think if you put up more than one post, they kind of think, oh, I've seen that already. And similarly, when we would, I just noticed with the text, the amount of text that you put with a post, like really I think it needs to all be said on the image if you can, you know, that actually to put the least amount of text possible because they just don't read it. But I'm just wondering, do you have any thoughts on that? Can you overpost?
I agree with you, Aoife, totally. I think you can overpost, and that's why I would say the story function
Yeah.
is much better. Putting things on your grid, they don't read them, they don't even scroll, they hardly scroll through it. It's all about instant. Everything has to be instant. So if you want a message out there, yes, put it on your grid, but stories, make it imaginative. Do your story, add music, add different polls. That's the best way to get your message out there. So I totally agree. I think you can overpost, and I wouldn't tell everyone to put lots on their grid. You're right, maybe a post a day, if that, but you can make your stories very imaginative and you can get your message out there, and they're more than likely to look, some people are more than likely to look at your story before they look at your page.
I'll just touch on three main things in Instagram. First main thing about Instagram is, now that we're sort of talking about sharing, is you can't put URLs in an Instagram post unless you have 10,000 followers. But generally, you can't put a URL. That means a link that you click, like on Facebook. Two of the other important things is hashtags and @. And I'm just going to call up our what I mean by that. This hashtag is this symbol here. So if you hashtag youth ministry, you put that into where the magnifying glass is in the search facility on Instagram. If you put in youth ministry in that will bring up posts that feature the hashtag youth ministry on it. So when you're posting anything, try and ensure that you include a hashtag, and that hashtag is to do with the subject matter that you're posting about. So if you're posting about youth ministry, use hashtag youth ministry. That's one word. Youth ministry is one word. When you split it into two, so if you went hashtag youth space ministry, your hashtag is actually youth because it drops ministry. So one word. So lots of people use the hashtag to find information, and similarly use hashtag to post out. And it's always useful to use a hashtag. Lizzy, do you use hashtags? And if you do, tell us how.
Yes, I do use hashtags. I would use hashtags after I put in a post on my grid. So it would be, I write Derry Youth Ministry because that's our hashtag, what we are doing youth ministry, and it's obviously Derry Diocese. I would also do hashtag maybe online programme, or if it's Mary's Meals that took over one week, I did hashtag Mary's Meals. And I would use the @ function that Tony's talking about. I would use that on stories. There's a difference because when you put @ it will then tag that person in your story, which then they can give the option to repost to their story, which means it is a bit of a promotion.
And similarly, it's useful too if anyone is doing youth ministry. Kildare and Loughlin are pretty good at it. If they have anything that they're posting in relation to the Pope John Paul II award, be it a time of a meeting or an event that's happening that week, what they will do is they will include the @JP2 award. And so that notifies me because I manage that account. And so I, in turn, can share that on the JP2 award Instagram account. And so it does two things. It shares it out further for Kildare and Loughlin, and also because we have a different audience, it shares to that audience too, and they in turn can see how different people are using it. So that's where the @ is useful if you wish to connect with other accounts. Now, don't go mad on it because if you use the @ too many times, and especially if we don't know who you are, we'll just block you. Just use it with someone that you know and that you know is going to use it. Otherwise, you'll get blocked. With both hashtag and the @ experiment. And just like everything else, always experiment, always try it out and see what happens. That's the beauty of being online. You can never get, only way you learn is either getting it wrong, making a mistake, but that is the best way of doing it. Do it often, see what happens, and take it that way. I see there's a question in there. Is there any common hashtags used by Catholic Youth Ministry? That's a good question, Connor. The hashtag youth ministry is the one that I find the most useful. Hashtag Catholic Youth Ministry is very targeted. It is good. The most popular that comes through is SimFed over in the UK. So that's the equivalent of CYMI here. If you use hashtag Catholic Youth Ministry, you will get a good information from Birmingham. They're particularly active, and try it that way. It's good. Experiment. That's the best way to do it. Aoife asked another good question. Lizzy, this is one good one for you. Is there a point which young people stop watching?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. As you need to, how do I put it? We're in a culture, and me included, this is not a judgment, I'm totally the same. If it's not flashy keys right in front of our eyes, we're not going to watch it. And that means making the information, get them interested in what you're trying to say. So some of the things that they're really interested, social justice. So if you have, think of how the movement of Black Lives Matter went so quickly all over the world. Instagram had a massive part to play in that. It really did, because everyone then used their stories and their feeds to post a black picture, just a plain black background. It was a way to get moving. So young people like to jump on trends, as we know, and the best way is to make it as imaginative as possible on your story. But yes, there is going to be times like that, no, I've had enough, not watching that. So the over-posting thing is something to watch out for, and only post, yes, I would say I post daily content, but I think we learned that, and from March to May, we did overpost, and young people were doing too much. We had too many things going on, and it didn't work. So that's what I'm saying about trial and error. See what works for that. I'm only talking on behalf of Derry diocese. I don't know what will work for your diocese. I'm just telling you what worked for ours. Some things didn't work. Things that I thought would work. TikTok Tuesday, we would send in TikToks. Didn't work. I thought it would. I'm like, they're all on TikTok. They'll love that. Didn't work at all. The simpler, the better. If you're making, just make sure your message is clear. Not a lot of text. Maybe a quote here and there, but nothing too crazy. But they do like to get involved. And for example, lives, if you're having a live on, they just have to click on and then they can put a comment. That seems to work well with us. We had a live pumpkin carving, which seemed to go well. We had young people come on and show us their pumpkins, and that worked well. But you're right, I think there is a time they're not up for it. So the clearer you are, the shorter it is. But then you get them, then people want to get involved more, they want to hear more, and that's where we were able to then maybe make a Zoom call, then make a Zoom call where they can talk a wee bit more and it's more intimate. Instagram was just about getting the message out there, and anyone then that wants to join in, we provided a space on Zoom or different places. Sometimes parishes took that on themselves to get young people involved and get them more involved. There was another question come in there, sorry.
I'm really not an Instagram person at the present moment in time, but you know how Facebook, you have your own personal account and then you can have a sub-account off that, would say, for your youth ministry page. Is that still possible in Instagram, or do you have to set up an individual one for your youth ministry?
You can set up an individual one for your youth ministry, but you can also, you can have dual accounts on Instagram. So for example, there's 3 accounts. I have 3 accounts on my phone, but you sign in, sign out, so it's a separate page. It's not the same as Facebook, but you can have your own account and then you can switch to your other youth ministry account.
Okay.
That answers your question, Bernadette.
Yeah, no, it does. Yeah, thanks million.
And just on that, Lizzy, you can give people access to your account as well, roles, and this comes into play for safeguarding. Lizzy, do you want to just explain that briefly of how you manage that?
Yeah, so what I would do is I actually haven't went into the role too much. I was given our youth team, whoever is available, kind of from March. There's some parish leaders and there's Yvonne, who is my line manager. She is on our Instagram account. So there's about 6 people logged in. They just have to have the login and keep that dual account on their Instagram, which means they are accessed to at all times. They receive notifications. You can put roles like co-editor and things like that. You can do that, but you can make, I don't have any roles, I just have everyone signed in. Where they have got the username and the password, and it means that we're covered safeguarding, as so many people can view all the messages and make sure that everything's okay, I suppose. As well, it doesn't sign you out, do you know, because another person signed in, do you know, like Zoom, if you're signed in, say there's a couple of users on your account, and it'll sign you out because somebody else is logged in. That's not the same on Instagram. There can be multiple people logged into that account because it's dual accounts, because you can switch it at either time, and it just means that notifications, yeah, you're never on your own. And it's also handy for the live feature. I'm sure, kind of like Zoom as well, you would always have a co-host, so that if anyone was doing anything inappropriate, they can be moved to the waiting room if somebody was speaking. It's the same on Instagram Live. Say somebody, this hasn't happened yet, but touch wood, it doesn't happen. There was an inappropriate comment was made on, and I was talking, so say I was on with the Bishop, which I do every Monday night, and I was talking and I didn't see the comment, and I couldn't be able to remove that comment because I wasn't aware of it. There's another person watching and is able to remove the comment and is able to remove that person from our live stream, so that we're covered in every way, so that nothing kind of goes out of hand. But again, it hasn't happened yet, thankfully. But if it did, it just means that we're not alone and somebody else is kind of like a co-host on Zoom.
Say there, just to come in, that our Instagram in Limerick at the moment, one of my leaders is she's been laid off from her job for the next 6 weeks, so she has our Instagram account at the moment, and she's like, any post that is going up, that's her, she's doing it all, and it's great because she knows how to use it more so than I do. She's younger, and I find that if you have a leader who's willing to take it on, like I'm hoping that after she kind of gives it back, that I'll give it to somebody else. And every now and then, like I sent her a text this morning and I just said, look, will you give a little reminder about night prayer on Thursday? You know, so, and they have the content at their fingertips. They're like, she's a native to this world. So, you know, it's if you have someone who could do it for you, you know, it'd be one less job, and it'd be a really good job to have someone do, because it's instant. So thanks.
And I think it is, if you make yourself familiar with Instagram, it becomes much easier. But I'm not saying it comes overnight. It doesn't. It takes time. It takes practice. And it is, I find it very easy. I'm not going to lie. I do find it quite easy because I've been brought up in this world that we're just used to it.
We're just coming towards the end now of this tutorial. There is one or two things I should note on Derry Youth. Bishop Donal has really got behind from the very, very start, and they created Scripture Saturdays with Bishop Donal. It was created through the youth ministry team, and we started to promote that out through the diocese, and it took off. And they have restarted it again on Saturday mornings, and that's where the bishop himself broadcasts live on Instagram. And most Monday evenings too, he joins yourselves, Lizzy, doesn't he?
You know, he's great. He comes on. I would try to teach the bishop how to use Instagram. Was quite funny at the start as well. We had to teach him, but now he's great at it and he loves it.
Okay.
Frank, back to you.
Well, thanks so much, Tony and Lizzy, and thank you all for participating. I think that was a helpful discussion, but what's been very helpful is that it covered the categories and the areas and the potential around Instagram. And I know a lot of us have probably a lot of work to do to get to that proficiency, but nevertheless, we know perhaps from today where to go to get help. And obviously, thanks to Lizzy and Tony, we can knock on Derry's door if we need the advanced course. coming to a hall near you somewhere. And it's always an opportunity to meet like this as a network and to encourage each other. So just to be, again, to encourage everybody as we continue to minister in this space, that God is with us, and every effort we can make, we ask Him to bless it and to bless the young people that we are hoping to minister to and are ministering to every week. Okay then, so thank you all, and see you back next week, hopefully. All right.